Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming tonight. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, and particularly the Southeast Chapter, it's my pleasure to welcome you tonight to this special voter forum of candidates for the Bedford Board of Education. With us this evening from stage right to left are Anthony Akins Sr., Brandon Lipford, Sharyn Macklin, Joseph Mestnik, and Danielle Turner-Birch. Our moderator this evening is Penny Jeffrey. Penny serves as the chapter liaison for the Greater Cleveland League of Women Voters, which means she's the point of contact for the Southeast Chapter and the 11 other chapters of the Greater Cleveland League of Women Voters. Before retiring, Penny was the regional area administrator of the Maple Heights region of the Cuyahoga County Public Library, which means that she was running the region that includes the Southeast Library. So she has some connection to the Southeast community. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Penny, who will tell you a little bit about how we're going to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. The League of Women Voters values its reputation for conducting voter forums with integrity and fairness. The following guidelines are among those accepted by tonight's candidates. As you've already heard, this room is a campaigning-free zone. That applies to the wearing of campaign apparel or buttons. We ask the audience to avoid expressions of support or opposition to any candidate during the forum proceedings. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement after a question and answer session. Our timer, right there. Our timer will give candidates a 30-second warning and a signal when their time is ended. We ask that candidates stand at their place at the table when delivering opening and closing statements. The order of speaking will be determined by drawing lots. Was that done?
No. Pick that first column. Do you have that sheet?
Oh, yes, okay.
Yes, just use that first column.
All right. So all right. Okay. The candidate who makes the first opening statement will make the last closing statement. Only written questions will be accepted. Cards for writing questions will be distributed to the audience before and during the forum. Succinct questions should be addressed to one or all candidates. Other candidates will have the opportunity to answer a question addressed to only one candidate, if appropriate. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer questions addressed to all. Candidates will have 30 seconds to answer questions addressed to another candidate. Candidates should not name other candidates in their remarks. A candidate mentioned adversely in another candidate's remarks will be provided an opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal, which may not be answered. Lead question screeners will review submitted questions to avoid duplication, ensure readability, and avoid inappropriate, for instance, ad hominem attacks, or irrelevant questions, for instance, foreign policy questions for city council races or Board of Education races. Questions will be asked by a forum moderator who may ask additional questions on his or her own or clarification questions as needed. So we're going to begin with, this will be a surprise. We're going to begin with Ms. Sharyn Macklin giving her opening statement. Now, she'll be followed by Anthony Akins, then Joseph Mestnik, then Brandon Lipford, and then Danielle Turner-Birch. And we will have to be passing the microphone around. So I'm going to go right over here to Ms. Macklin so she can get started.
Yeah, you did, yes.
And take your mask off to speak.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sharyn Macklin. I've been in this district for 60+ years. My family is from this district. My dad was a graduate of Bedford. At that time, Central was the high school. His brothers and sisters were all graduates of Bedford, his kids, his grandkids, and his great-grandkids. I worked for the district for 31 years. I retired and came back and worked again for another 7 years. I know the district. There's things that need to be done and need help with. As parents and board members, if we all work together, we can get a lot of things done that need to be done. And we have to remember it's about the students. It's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the students. It's about their education, it's about the enrollment, it's about a lot of things that I've seen in the district since I've been here so long that needs to be changed and needs to have some work done to it. So if we all stick together and work together, we can all do it together. Thank you.
Is Mr. Akins in?
Hello, everyone. First off, I wanted to thank the Southeast Chapter Legal and the Voters for holding this forum. And I want to thank everyone in the audience here for taking the time to come out this evening. This definitely shows that you are involved in what happens in the future of our district. My name is Anthony Akins. I am a parent, first and foremost, of kids actually enrolled here in the district. I am also a graduate of Bedford High School. I graduated in 1996. I have been living as a resident of the community for approximately 31 years. I'm also a former councilman of 10 years, a Navy veteran. And in terms of education, I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration and a master's degree in business. My goal is to, as a parent, to try to figure out what can we do to make our district better. As an alumnus of this district and having kids in the district as well, I've seen the highs and lows of what's been going on. I've seen just how the district has not provided the best output for even others outside the district. I don't like the fact that our school district is not looked highly upon by others, and I want to see what I can do to fix that. I noticed also our report card grade is very low for the state, and I wanted to join with my fellow school board members to see what we can do to right that ship, because it's definitely all about putting forth the students and having them do the best they can and provide the best education possible for our children. Thank you.
Mr. Mestnik?
Most of you know who I am, and I want to start off with failure is not an option. If you take a look at our Bedford report card, we have 2 C's, 3 D's, and an F. We're a D school. We could do better than that. I spent a lot of time on the school board years ago and all the way through trying to come up with different ways to fix the school district. And I can tell you right now, the problem that we have is we're taking children and trying to force them into a process that's giving us 40% D's and F's. We need to reverse that process. We need to design the process that's going to fit these kids. One of the things that we did years ago, we put in Center Academy. That was to address that. The idea was to take children and put them into a small, close environment where the teachers have direct contact with them. We took kids coming out of the 8th grade that never ever gotten above a D, put them at Center Academy with some kids in there getting straight A's. That's what we need to get back to. If you take a look at the stuff I've done, one of my, I'd like to see my mayor, Gary Gottschalk is here. Years ago, I came up with an alternative way of funding the schools by sharing city income tax when we granted abatements. Gary was my partner to be able to get that done. We've generated millions of dollars, and one of the things I'm sure all of you are happy is we've gone 9 years now without an operating levy. Before, we were doing this about every 4 years. The reason is because you have to take a look at all different ways that you can bring in to help the community. We've got to bring in more businesses, and Gary has brought in a little Oakwood Village, 2 New York Stock Exchange corporations, and 3 NASDAQ corporations. We can do that in Bedford Heights, Bedford, and Walton Hills as well. This is one of the richest communities in Ohio. We have more money than anybody in the area. We have 2 freeways, 3 railroads, and we have everything. But one thing we have that's killing us are the apartments. And I identified this years ago. We have 5,500 apartments. We have 3 to 4 evictions a day. We have a 25 to 30% turnover of students, and we've got to bring that to an end. And I have a way, I think, that we can do that, but I've got to have the cooperation of Bedford and Bedford Heights and the school board. The school board has got to work as a team, and when we work as a team, we can achieve anything.
Thank you, Joe. I echo what Anthony said here. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Lipford. Just to introduce myself, I am a 7-year resident of Lipford Village. I am a husband and a father to 2 children, and very excited and honored to be a part of this process and to be able to serve my community. A little bit about myself: I am not a politician. I am a career educator and a community youth development professional. I was a high school teacher teaching music, choir, and entrepreneurship with me for 5 years. I served as a center director for GED and Youth Development Center One Stop, allowing students to catch up who weren't successful the first time around and to get the skills that they could apply to a successful future and to make a change. I currently serve as a director of arts education for Rady Institute in Cleveland, Ohio, serving young people, over 2,500 young people a year in arts education programming. And it's an honor to be able to see kids change by a positive educational environment. And that's the attitude that I bring to this opportunity. I believe that we are able to do things together if we have the right priorities, which are our kids and their abilities and faith in their abilities to succeed and to achieve great things. And if we have a community around our kids that believe that they're able to do it, we will do it. I believe expectation creates the results. So I have an expectation of our district and of this community, everybody in this room, that we're going to turn around everything that needs to be turned around and become the best we can be together. And so I'm glad to be here and I appreciate the opportunity.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Turner-Birch. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having this space where we can take up and speak on what's necessary for our families. I am bred, wed, and fed here in this district as an alumnus. I was born in Bedford Heights, raised in Walton Hills, and I'm currently residing in Oakwood Village as a wife to a Bedford alum as well with our 3 children. With being a mom and being an alumnus in this district, I am very vested and invested in the trajectory with our evolving demographic needs. I have a background, Bachelor of Science in Education. I have a Master's in Organizational Leadership and Development, as well as an MSA certification in Training and Development. So I know what's necessary to strategize, analyze, and develop curriculum, leading from a advocacy thought process as well as solutions oriented. I feel that with a business background that what you cater to is your bottom line, and who is our bottom line in the district is our families and our students and our staff. So as well as in conjunction with colleagues here is that it takes a collective effort and a collective atmosphere in order for us to move our district forward. And I am willing and ready to serve and lead in the capacity to help our district and our children and our families. Thank you.
Thank you all. Mr. Akins will start with the first question. And we'll just go along the line. What motivated you to run for school board?
What motivated me to run for school board was the fact that I just see, as a parent, I've just seen what my own children have been dealing with through the years they've been in school. And from what their friends are telling me, I'm just looking at how things just need to be just better. One thing that I noticed this year, even, not even the first week of school, we had to close one of the school buildings simply because there was no AC in the building. I mean, it's things like that that needs to be fixed and adjusted because our students need to be able to have the opportunity to learn freely, to have the same opportunities as other students in other districts such as like Solon or Turner-Birch. And I believe that I would like to have my opportunity to work with the other school board members to reach that goal. Thank you.
I was motivated to run largely because of this past year and a half that we've all been through. Never before in my life, before last March, April, May, did public service seem so important to me. But when we were suddenly catapulted into this pandemic and schools were closed, our cities and communities were in haywire, I realized how important it is to have people that care about people in a position to impact people's lives. That's the type of person that I am. I believe that I have skills and experience to help people. And I think to a degree, Providence has brought this moment about with there's now 3 seats open for the school board, and our schools and our kids need great people to help. And it just so happens I'm here. So, just being honest with you, it's the moment that I feel motivated to help, and I believe we can do it.
What motivated me was working in the district. I started working in the district in '82, and I moved up in different positions, and each position I moved in, I seen different things. I see students who need the education, but they weren't getting it, or they weren't getting what they needed from home to come here and get the education. Sometimes, when it comes to the students, sometimes you need to give them a hug. I was told one time by another employee, quit hugging them kids. No, you never know what's going on in their house. So my thing is that I think that we can move this district back up. I remember when I was born here, my cousins used to fight to get in Bedford. Now people are leaving Bedford, and I don't understand why. But some kind of way we have to figure out how we get these people back in Bedford, because the school system it needs to be revamped. It needs help. So that's why I'm here.
When I saw the F and prepared for success, we can do better than that. And I know that I can add my, all of my experiences, stuff being on the board and being in business, and being able to bring people together. This is really a team effort. It's working with the administration, working with the teachers, working with the school board primarily, and making sure that the kids are getting the best education they can get. When you have 40% of your kids getting D's and F's, that's not good. I can tell you right now, we have a problem. We've got to solve it. We cannot be a D school. I mean, if we're going to be a D school, I can change it. All you have to do is take a look at some of the stuff that I've done. When I first got on the board, we had leaky roofs everywhere. You had some consultants come in. 90% of our roofs had never been insulated. By 1998, we were fully insulated. We were saving $350,000 a year just in natural gas. I built Bearcat Stadium. We brought that in 120,000 under.
The mic, that's the time.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm holding the mic, I'm passing the mic,
Oh.
and the time's up.
I didn't see that you were.
Enrollment, dilapidated buildings, curriculum and standards are some of the reasons as to why I chose to run. 20 years ago, at this moment, I was a senior in high school, and being able to see from then till now, 20 years later, a lot of the same things haven't changed. I'm ready to be here for a new approach with a new mindset that doesn't just necessarily look at grades, address the issues that are the barriers between grades. And that's the reason why I chose to run.
Mr. Lipford will start with this one. What do you see as the major issues facing the school district?
Well, I think at a very, concrete level is clearly the gradings and the marks that we're receiving as a district that are below all of our standards and all of what we want to see our kids accomplish. So just achievement and accomplishment. As I kind of look at the district and the schools, I think that the kids have a lot that is at their disposal. So there's a disconnect between what the kids are provided with and being able to make the best use of it and application. I think that has to do with strategy, it has to do with our community being involved, with our parents being engaged in the process. So I think the major challenges are the community working together to support the kids, to make sure that they understand the importance of education and how to make the best use of all the opportunities that are clearly available to them. But however, the disconnect is not getting there. So just working through that process.
I think the grade, Ohio school grade, I feel if we work together with the teachers, the administration, and the parents, I think we can get it up and we can get the enrollment back in. I think that the students are looking for someone to care because you never know what some of these kids are going home to. So they need someone who's gonna help them get through this, help them get through the school, help them do what they need to do. And I think as a parent and a board member and administration, I think it's some kind of way we have to figure out how to do this. It's some kind of way we have to figure out how to help these students. Because my main goal is the students, and it's been the students for the last 37 years. So if we can find a way to all work together without bitterness or whatever, then I think we can get what we need to get done for the students and make Bedford school system a better place to be educated.
I think the primary problem that we have at Bedford City Schools is student performance. And a lot of that is then affected by the communities having a lot of apartments. We have 3 to 4 evictions a day. We have a 25% turnover of students every year. And when you're taking those students and putting them directly into a classroom, a lot of them are not competitive. You have to test these kids, find out where they are. You've got to create a program that's going to address those issues so that these kids can get up to the level where they can be competitive. That's the major issue. We have a lot of other things that we have to get done in school, but primarily, you've got to get a school board that works as a team. They've got to work as a team and work with the administration in order to be able to achieve all the things that you want to get done. You can't get it done unless everybody works together. You've got to have work sessions, you've got to decide what you want to do, and then you get done and do it. That's what you just have organized and you get it done. You have a strategic plan, you need to follow that, and we need to be able to put more things together.
Equity, efficacy. Equity in our practice and policy and procedures, and more efficiency within how it is done and conducted through operations at every level. It takes from administration to teachers and the families working together collaboratively to find out what the barriers are, address the issues with solutions. And from a place of care and a care of justice.
Mr. Akins.
As many of our colleagues have spoken about the education factor and student performance, I think one of our greatest issues is not putting a greater focus on the social emotional well-being of our students. Because the student we can teach them and have classes where they learn different topics they can basically teach to a test. But if we're not helping to address what's going on with them, then we're missing a boat. If the student's in class and they're constantly falling asleep, for example, instead of just sending them down to the office, we need someone to actually find out what's going on, what's going on at your home. Currently, there's, to my knowledge, 3 social workers for roughly 3,200 students in the school district, to cover 6 buildings, and that to me is unacceptable. I believe that it should be a full-time social worker in each building to help get to know the students and to be on hand to address their issues.
Ms. Macklin will start this question. Will the candidates, if elected, continue the masking protocol in January? And will they require vaccinations of all eligible students and staff?
I think that I had my shots, and I think that it do help and it does bring it down. And I think that everybody should get them, especially the kids, because they're the biggest carriers right now. As far as mandating it, I don't know, because you have people who don't believe in it or their religion, but I think that every student, teacher, principal, I really believe that they should get it, because it's time to, we gotta figure out a way to end this so we can continue to educate it. And if we're closing down and not getting to the point of what we need to get to, then it's just, we gotta figure out how to do this. We gotta figure out what to do with it. So I really think it should be mandated that they get the shot, but like I said, there's people who religion don't believe in it.
We have University Hospital right here in Bedford. First thing I would do is I would get probably either 2 or 3 of the top respiratory doctors, have them come in and advise the board. Because I'll tell you, there's so much information and misinformation and everything that's going on from one part of the rainbow to the other side of the extremes. And we need to have expert, we got them right here. They're right here within a mile of us, and the thing to do, and I've seen this all the way through the school. When you got a problem, bring in the experts. Bring those people in to advise you, because that way it's gonna get the right answers, you're gonna make the right decisions. That's what I would do. I bring in the people that can make a good decision for us.
I believe we should continue with the masking. We see that masking works. I also don't believe it should necessarily be a mandate. I know we have a union that teachers have to go through, and it depends on what the legalities are around what the right of individuals are. I can say we can recommend them. But masking for sure we can mandate, and because it works, and making sure that we have shields, making sure that we are social distancing, and using the other avenues, as well as recommending vaccinations. I'm vaccinated, but that's a parental decision for students to try to mandate that. I know we all have been inoculated for years, so definitely having in experts to speak, but we also need to understand what the demographics of our community is, and to determine what are the vaccination rates and whatnot in our community, so we can also make further decisions on how to move and address.
Mr. Akins.
As my colleagues here also stated, I believe you need to bring in some professionals to advise us on the right and best course of action. However, personally, I do believe that at the very least, we should be having a mask mandate in all the schools, which we're doing now. And in terms of mandating the vaccination, I myself am fully vaccinated. And I know that for years, the schools have already required vaccinations of our students. Even my own senior had to get a shot just for senior year. So it's not something new to bring to the schools to mandate a vaccination. But I do believe that we need to bring in experts to make sure that that's the correct way to go before we make a decision.
I appreciate that answer, and as well, what the other candidates have said. I think that the primary challenge is, once again, that a community has to work together. If we're looking at COVID as a threat to our success as a community, we as a community have to decide to conquer this adversary. As a community, masking mandates are about a community saying, I care about you enough to put my mask on. It's the mandate, it's not really the approach. The approach is getting the community to come together to understand we have to defeat this. So yes, we should absolutely have everyone wearing masks, teaching why we're wearing masks in a positive way to get everyone together. And then I agree, talking to experts, although I think it's been pretty clear what the experts say about vaccination, but mandates, I don't know that that is the right approach. The way that we approach it is, as a community, we have to conquer this together.
Mr. Mestnik will start this.
I agree with that.
In what ways have you served students and families in Bedford City Schools and communities in the past?
Well, I've served on the school board, obviously, that's a big one. And bringing in creating an environment where we could provide the very best education. When I first got on the board, I made a decision, literally, that everybody in the administration had to go. In 18 months, I had a brand new team here. I recruited Dr. Bedores. I recruited Tony Tamantos, who became the Hall of Fame school principal at Glendale. And I recruited Sam Waters, who was probably one of our best high school principals. But you got to bring in the right people, you got to bring in the right team that are really working with the kids. We had 3 people in curriculum to make sure that we covered everything from pre-K. And we put in pre-K when I was on the board originally. We started pre-K and we started taking a look at how we could take and work with the children. And then the other thing I did was I came up with team teaching and looping that had never been done in education before. And the whole idea there was that teachers now had 3 years with the kids. You got to know the parents, you got to know the kids better.
Being a daughter of a former teacher, educator, history major, I was serving my community early in life. As a student, I was on student senate. I was on student advisory board. I was in the arts. I was in a cappella, magical, you name it. I was a part of it in helping my community. Teens who listen and care, peer mediation. Those are things early in life that I did, that moving into my collegiate years, serving and working in the Black Student Union, and gospel choir, and in a parental role, being a volunteer in the schools, being a substitute teacher at every single school in this district. I have had the pleasure of doing. I'm on the PTA. I've worked on strategic planning. I've done several things, also as well as being a business owner in this community. So definitely giving back with the economic development of this community. So with a diverse background with many transferable skills, I have definitely served my community.
I serve my community first and foremost. As you may know, I've been a councilman in Oakland Village for 10 years. Also, while on council, I helped initiate our Hawthorne Valley Youth Council. This was an effort to get our youth to be involved in the community through community service, with the idea of stepping up and giving back to the community. Last year, we had to cut it short because of COVID, but if we did not, we would have actually hit 11 years of having that program. It's also 11 years of providing scholarships for seniors after they graduate as well. Personally, I've also been and currently a member of our Superintendent Advisory Council. Been a member of Watchdogs, which is Dads of Great Students. It was held at Carrollwood. I've also been a member of school PTAs, Carrollwood most recently, as well as a Bedford band and orchestra parent. That's the one thing I'm doing mostly this year.
So as I mentioned in my opening comments, I have been in youth development and education for my entire career. And while I've never worked directly in the district in the school building, many of the kids from this district have participated in the artworks program, which I've managed, an arts-based job training program, have attended Lutheran East and probably sang in the gospel choir that I led and taught for 5 years. I also was a youth pastor at my church in Cleveland, and we have several families from Bedford that attend our church, and I have spent quite a bit of time and energy on those young people for many years. So while I've not been in the schools formally, I have been in the lives of these young people from this district and their families, and making impact in communities all around Cleveland. I would anticipate and expect to do the same here.
Wow, this is a question they stopped the banquets, I restarted the banquets, I would cook, I fed the basketball team, the football team, the wrestlers, the swimmers, I fed everybody. I volunteered for any and everything, and anything the kids wanted to do, they was always told, ask me Sharyn, and of course I said, yeah. I took care of a lot of your kids, a lot of you, that's how long I've been here, that's how long I've been volunteering. I just did so much. I was just there for the students, for their parents, and I made sure they had everything that they needed. We even got halls free. We got the hall free in Oakwood. We got the hall free in Walk Hills. We got the church free. And I mean, it was like 100 to 200 people I was feeding by myself until somebody decided to take over, which I was so happy. But a lot of you know me and you know what I've done for them. So what can I say about this?
Just quickly, one of the things I did every year, I buy a book, ask for a rebuttal.
There's no rebuttal here.
Not a rebuttal. You said that we had 30 seconds to add on to something.
Oh, okay.
We don't have that?
Sorry, it's not what I used to, but yes. You were prompted, yeah.
Right, I just wanted to add that every year I buy a book on Joe Montana and give it to the quarterback of our team, which has really helped those kids in terms of how they play the game and also how they've been able to defeat the other teams that they've been playing. And personally, it was from our Sean Boone said without that book, he never would have been able to do some of the things he did. But I do that every year for these kids.
What ways would you encourage the wraparound services needed by students?
What does that mean?
Wraparound services are when the kids need more than a teacher. They need a social worker, they need speech therapy, and connecting the kids and their families to social services if appropriate.
Supporting social emotional learning around trauma response is how you encourage further development. Understanding that there are 3 barriers in 21st century education, and they are attributed to racism, social economics, and language. So making sure that we are meeting those barriers within education is how you utilize those. Utilizing our social emotional team, and it's a connection from leadership all the way down to the classroom. Providing the correct professional developments that are needed for our educators as well as for our students, providing resources for our parents and our students as well to meet the needs, especially when we are also concerning those with disabilities.
Thank you. I too feel the need to, we should definitely look toward addressing the social emotional well-being of our students. But I think that what will help that wraparound services is communication. Because we have certain services now already in place, but as a parent, we're not getting that information presented to us. So if we can do better with communication to actually let our community know what's available for our students and our families, then we can get better buy-in for those programs. Currently, there's a program through Beachbrook that's going on that me and my wife were a part of, and we only had, I think, 4 families out of the entire district that was involved during that time. And that was due to lack of communication of being able to let other families know about what we can offer to our services and to our families.
Kathy makes a tremendous point about communication, and that goes to the challenge of allowing students or helping students to understand how, and families, how to access all the things that are available to them. And I come back to this word community. We have, in addition to all of us, there are partners, there are organizations that are built and designed and have built their entire mission around helping young people. And they are accessible and available. It takes strategic thinking from our board and our administration to understand how do we activate and how do we access and bring in these partners to help our students in all of these ways. And it goes back to a philosophy of a holistic philosophy of education, to have enough empathy to understand kids need more than 8 to 3. They need it. So it becomes incumbent upon the community to understand the needs of the kids and put every resource we have behind providing a wraparound that no kid fails. And that is possible. It's being done. It's possible here too.
I worked on a committee for Cuyahoga County, for children like that, and I think we have to get the parents involved in that situation, and we have to work with them to get to where we need to go. When I worked with them, it was me and parents and a couple other people who worked together, and we would get the parents involved so the parents would know what we're doing. I really think that it's something that really has to be looked at, because we can't blame the student for it, we can't blame the parent for it. It's just part of their life that's there that needs help. And we would have to be the ones that find the help and give them the help so they can continue getting the education. Because sometimes they feel that they're falling and they can't get up, so they just give up. But we have to be there and be strong for them and not let them give up.
I addressed this problem when I first got on the school board, and that's how I came up with team teaching and looping. You had 2 teachers teaching 2 classes together simultaneously, so you've got synergy between the 2 teachers. The second thing on the looping is they went from kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. They spent 3 years with those kids, so they got to know the kid, they got to know the parents, and then they did identify a lot of things that were going on. And then 2 teachers from 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. It's exactly why I put that together. We were talking about it here. The whole idea was to have enough time that you spend with these kids to know the parents and everything else. 3 years, you have that. If you just have 1 year, you throw them over the wall, you just don't know it. We found that there were kids from kindergarten through the 5th grade that hearing problems, they had physical problems. And because the teachers were there for 3 years, they were able to identify that and get the child to the right type of help that they needed. We did that right away. That's why this is sophisticated. It was important. I did that.
We've been talking about parent involvement in this. We know that not all parents feel comfortable dealing with schools. Maybe parents had a bad time in school themselves, and they're working, they have time constraints. So what would you do to be able to reach out to parents to get them involved? And we'll start with Mr. Akins this time.
I would suggest utilizing school district for community outreach programs that focus on the parents. Maybe have, events where just the parents can come out and socialize, just kind of get to know each other. So parents can know that they're not by themselves as parents teaching their students and sending them off to school in the morning. Parent support groups are something we could help initialize, something that parents can kind of talk to each other and say, this is what I need, can you help me? Somebody else can say, yes, I have extra this, extra that, I can help you, just so that we can work together. We want to make sure that parents don't feel siloed, that they are all by themselves having to deal with their children in the school district.
I think that what is most important is, again, having an understanding of what those challenges are. How do we communicate with parents in the most convenient way for them to receive the information? And being able to, at the very start of the year, and on a continual basis throughout the year, reaching out to parents about how can we serve you, how can we support you, how can we communicate the information that's going on in the district, and how can we adapt to the lifestyle that you're living in your schedule, right? And understanding that just as much as we are serving students, in order for the students to be successful, we have to also engage their parents. And so having a strategy behind engaging and serving the parents will allow us to kind of strengthen that relationship and hopefully achieve more investment and buy-in in this respect. Because they are parenting, we know that. So they're not just absent, but it's just about connecting them with this part of their kid's life and making sure that we have a strategy behind it.
I think maybe if we get, like you said, parent groups, and even if you meet, parent groups meet, if they work days, meet in the evening, maybe once a week, or however we can do this to get with the parents so we can see the parents and talk to them and help them get through it, because as a parent of one biological child and 3 adopted kids and 26 foster kids, I know what a lot of them are going through, and it's kind of hard, but if we could find a way to work with them and continue helping them so they can help their students and we can move forward, because it's not easy being a parent and working. But you have to do what you have to do, and I think if we get form some kind of group, parent group, or parent social, we can get a hold of some of this.
I don't know that there's really an answer to this. I think we've been, all the time that we were on the board, we talked about how do we get more people involved. I'm not sure anybody has an answer. And I think that, we talk about, we'd love to do that, we'd like to get people. The real problem we have is poverty. We have right now 70% of our students go home to a single mother. And, when you look at the people, 3 to 4 evictions a day, what's happening in this community is challenging. We need to get the communities involved. And you really need to get in the mayors and the councils and get these people. This is not just a school issue, it's a community issue. And it's not simple. This is probably one of the most complex problems that we're ever going to have. And again, now, one thing that I would suggest, we have football games on Fridays. I think we ought to make it free to all the parents and the students that are here. Let them all come. Let them come to the basketball games for free. At least that way they can see their kids. A lot of these people can't afford $4 or $5 to come to a game. Let them come, absolutely free.
I would say continuity and communication and accessibility definitely is a community concern to foster that collaborative experience. But according to the National Center of Statistics, Educational Statistics, 50% of our districts are married families. 50% of our district is single parents. So what we do is we meet the parents at their needs. Having available, through COVID, we've learned that virtual is an option. Continuing consistency and offering other options for them to meet. Parents can pick up a phone quickly if they're still on the job at 5 o'clock and a meeting starts at 5, or a meeting starts at 6 and they haven't prepared dinner yet. Conferences can be done virtually instead of always in person. We need to use what we have learned throughout this last year and how we move forward to provide those different arrangements for individuals based on their need and concerns. Parent groups always work as well. There's resources in the community. Let's partner with those parent groups who are already existing that are here to help families.
This is a question for Mr. Mestnik. You mentioned the apartments a lot. What do you suggest is the resolution to the apartments?
Yeah, there's two things. There's two things that have to happen. Number one is we have to have our communities pass a law that we have a right of first refusal. That means that when these apartments come available, that the community can buy them. And the answer is that we need to convert the apartments into condominiums. That's the solution. I've been working on this. I have some people that I think that may be able to do the financing on some of this. But the answer is 95% of the apartments in the Bedford School District are owned in Dallas and Chicago. $50 million worth of rent leaves the area every year. That's got to come to an end. And the problem, that's what's causing the poverty. So as a result of that, if we take and convert these into condominiums, instead of people paying $1,200 a month for rent, they'll be paying $450, and they'll own that unit. And in 15 years, they'll have $30,000 worth of equity. Each unit is worth about 30 grand. And I'll tell you, there's no reason why we can't do this, but we have to do that. This is like, now the other part of this is you have an organization of people who own these buildings, and they set the prices. And that's the difference. If you have a right of first refusal, they can't cheat on the price because we can claim it. Nobody's ever done that, by the way.
All right, this question is directed at Anthony Akins and Danielle Turner-Birch. And I'll start with Ms. Turner-Birch. You will sit on the Superintendent Advisory Committee. How will you work with Dr. Andrea Selico in moving forward her strategic plan for Bedford School District?
Currently, I operate on the strategic planning around social justice, which is broken into the goals of the current strategic plan. I just actually started in the meetings just occurred, so I haven't had true opportunity to consistently work. But I'm all about collaboration. We need to meet and see where the areas of improvement are. We need to acknowledge our strengths, but build upon those areas that we need to grow by. And I'm willing to work with the current administration so that we can see our opportunities to be able to do that as we move forward collectively.
Currently, I've been on the Superintendent Advisory Council since its inception. I've also been a member of the previously Parent Ambassador Group. And with those two organizations, we've been trying to work with administration to learn what we can do as parents and provide input for our district. One of the things that we've done in the past couple of years was decide on a new logo for the district. You know, they looked at our council to get ideas on what a logo should be, what our tagline should be, things like that, just so we can feel that we have some input in our own community, in our own school district. So I would try to definitely best work with our current administration, see what things can be expanded upon, and look at what things can be removed if need be.
Okay, Mr. Lipford will be starting this time. If elected, would you support a tax levy to build new school buildings?
Yes. If And what it appears from where we currently are is that we do need a capital upgrade in a lot of situations for spacing and for us to continue providing the programs that we have in mind. And again, it will require some investment from the community. And so if we have to come together, then we have to come together in the most strategic and the most effective and efficient way to do so. But yes, I would support whatever is needed to bring our kids the best opportunities possible.
Yes, I would agree. I would support it, but we do need new schools, we do need better schools, but we need a better enrollment. Our schools are old, they do need to be replaced. Like I said, my dad graduated out of Central, so that lets you know how old Central really is. And then it didn't even have the new addition on it. I was the first class to go to Heskett, and it needs to be replaced. And it's just that I think that we do need to get schools, and I hope that the taxpayers are willing to help us get them. So we'll have to see how that goes, but yes, I would support it.
I think you have to look at first things first. The first thing we gotta do is work on these children and the processes in order to get them a better education. The buildings are important, obviously, but the fact of the matter is, it's the processes, it's the kids, so they can get a good education. That's number one. You go out there and put the most beautiful building, but if we don't change the process and how these children are being educated, we're still gonna have 30 to 40% D's and F's. I don't wanna see that. Every child can learn. We need to put together the programs that these kids are gonna be able to perform and be effective in the school. That's the number one priority. Buildings and everything else are a distraction. We need to get the processes up so that these kids can be productive. You can't have an F and prepare for success. You just can't. And buildings aren't gonna change that. The processes in education will, and that's where we have to put our efforts.
Seeing trash can bins under ceilings of leaking water. Seeing 90-degree buildings and children having to be sent home because there's no airflow. Our buildings, we need new buildings. Now, what would be the language? I understand as a homeowner, roughly around 55% of tax dollars currently go to the district. Can we look at allocations? What can we do right now in the interim to renovate before there's an option for a levy? Before we pose the new for tax dollar for community to put more local share when the operations and the processes are not efficient. We can, to use a better term, lipstick on a pig. We can put new buildings, but if you're putting the same curriculum and the same operations and the same standards, what have you changed besides the outer exterior and the facade of the outside? So we need to take that understanding as well. Thank you.
As mentioned previously, I too have witnessed our buildings with containers collecting water when it rains. As I mentioned earlier, the fact of the first week of this school year, we had to close and send students home because it was too hot in the building. The writing is on the wall that we need new buildings. I know we haven't had a levy, I believe if someone mentioned 9 years. I think it's time. We need to do something to help our students. Students need to feel appreciated and feel motivated. And it's hard to do that when you're looking at rusty lockers and you have just carpets that just looks like it was just vacuumed and not replaced in 15 years. Things need to be done to change that because I believe students will perform better if they feel that they're being respected and they feel that they're being appreciated.
Can we add things like,
Yes.
okay, just very quickly. Because the point was made, and
I would just say this, in my experience in education, the environment is part of the process. The two are not exclusive. The environment that you have kids to learn in, students to learn in, is part of the learning process itself. And we can do more than one thing at one time, at the same time. We can work on our process while also upgrading the facility if we as a community decide that's what we're going to do. If we have the means to do it in this community, which it appears that we do, it's just about the willpower and the commitment to get it done. And if we can at least consider, again, the environment the kids learn in is a part of the learning process, then it all works together.
We promised this would end at 8:30. There's still a lot of good questions here, but it's time to go with the closing statements. And I have to look at this. So the first person giving a closing statement will be Ms. Turner-Birch, followed by Mr. Lipford, and then Mr. Mestnik, Mr. Akins, and last, Mr. Lipford. Did I do you twice? I'm sorry. Okay. The last person should be Ms. Macklin, of course.
Questions have been asked and answers have been given. At this point, I just feel I'm seeking your support. From a solutions approach, I bring a new opportunity, a fresh start, a younger thought process, a very diverse background with transferable skills in leadership, in advocacy. And through my volunteering and being a parent, having an understanding of what our students really need. My children are in this district. My friends' children are in this district. I don't just see the ability to serve just because of mine, but for everyone. We need to have a holistic approach to addressing the whole child in the classroom, meeting the children where their needs, meeting the parents at their needs and what is needed. Whether it's disabilities, whether it's through differentiated learning, we need to be able to address at every aspect and to use those monies and budgeting around the ability of having resources and services available to help us execute strategically what we need to do to help better mold an environment that is not trauma-induced or informed, but necessarily needs-based, and also that is more collaborative, responsive, and receptive. Thank you, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you once again, everyone. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this forum tonight, and for all of you all to be here is exciting and inspiring and encouraging to me. I want your support as well. I want the opportunity to help serve you, our families, our teachers and educators in school, professionals, as well as, of course, our students. I think it's very important that we be nimble at this time, as so many things are changing, to have an adaptive thought process that we can do what is needed if we're able to be solutions oriented, to be collaborative, to think about all the resources we have at our disposal, all the partnerships that we can build. And we don't have to do it one way. We can figure it out, even if it means change. I think anybody that's going to lead and work with kids has to be nimble and adaptive enough. We've also got to be humble. And let's just be real about the fact that we got to get better. So we can't not be honest about our need to get together as a community and do better. So if we can present that to everybody, all of our parents, listen, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna do it together. This is how we're gonna do it. We have the capacity to do it, and let's get it done. Let our kids feel that energy, let our teachers feel that energy. I believe that will pay off. I have a lot of experience. I'm not that naive in life, or necessarily, I'm not that old either, but I have enough optimism to think that we can turn things around. I saw it happen in the 30s when I worked there. It is possible if you have the right people who are committed and determined to make it happen. And we are well able. You can just tell by just this forum and the minds that are up here now, we're well able to make this happen. So let's get it done.
Failure is not an option. And then the person that you have 3 people that are out of this group are going to be on the school board. The key to that is you've got to have team players. You just can't get anything done. I've been 20 years on a school board, and I've seen good school boards, and I've seen some that are really, really bad. You've got people who've sat on the school boards for 20 years or whatever. If you ask them what they've done, they haven't done anything at all. They've sat there. You can't do that. You gotta take a look at the people who are willing to work, put the time into it, put the research into it. And then you can build stadiums, you can fix roofs, you can do all the other things you can do. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't get people that are team players, you're not gonna have a school board that's gonna work with the superintendent, and not only the superintendent, but with the communities as well. It's absolutely essential that when you look at the schools and all 4 communities that we have here, it's an integration, it's an integral part that everybody plays a role in that. And if you don't have people that really understand that, they're trying to, they're looking at what can I do, how do I get the recognition or whatever it is, that just isn't the way it gets done. So when I first got on the school board, I brought in just a wholly different way of looking at how to get things done. Put in strategic planning. We had 15 initiatives at with the first strategic plan. In 1 year, we had 13 of them done, including that stadium. We built that in 9 months for $120,000 under budget. I brought in the library. We were $220,000 under budget in that one. You start taking a look at this thing, it all has to do with the finance, the team, the objectives, what you're trying to get done, but you've got to have team players. Sometimes if you don't have team players on a school board, you lose.
First off, I want to again thank the Southeast chapter of the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. As we all know, there's going to be 3 open seats for the school board. As you decide on which person or which people you would like to vote for, I would urge you to look at that the school board is a community effort. It's not just one person that's going to come and make change. It's looking at what 3 people are going to work best together, because only together are we going to improve our school district. I am a parent, alumnus, Navy veteran. I am one of you. I'm a longtime resident, and I want to see change. And I believe that we can work together as a community. We can do better with our communication efforts and getting information out to parents. I believe we can do better with our efforts of reaching the students and not just teaching to them, but actually reaching for them, seeing what's wrong at home, what's going on. Because these kids need support. And as a school district, we can provide that. We can make strides to make that happen. And personally, at the end of the day, if I'm blessed to be one of the 3 people that has your votes, I will do whatever I can to make sure that our kids move forward. One of the taglines of my literature is our children, our community, our future. And I firmly believe that we're only going to move forward if we work together as a community.
I believe and will always believe, and I've always said for the last 37 years, it's all about the students. It's all about getting them an education. It's all about what they need. Sometimes you have to reach out and touch them. I've worked with a lot of parents, there's a lot of parents that's willing to work with us to help communicate with our kids and to help do things for the school system, and I think working with the parents would be a big help. The parents, we can come up with a lot of things to help the students need the help, they need the love. Like I said before, you don't know what they're going home to. You just don't know. And working in the district, I've seen some things. And to see some of these things these kids are going home to, they're gonna need us as a board, as a teacher, as an administrator, and as a family. They're gonna need us because things aren't what they used to be. They don't have parents like I had. They don't have parents like you had. We do the best we can with our kids, but when it comes to education, I think we need to step up and maybe try to do a little more. And even if it's not yours and somebody else, you see somebody else's child need it, there's nothing wrong with giving a hand to somebody, nothing. I gave my hand to so many people, I don't even think I have fingers now, but I'm managing because I've always been there and I always do. And it's all about the students, and that's what we need to concentrate on. If I make it for the board, I'm gonna do whatever I can to continue to make it better for the students and to continue to try to pull Bedford back up where it was before. So I hope I have your vote, and thank you so much.
Thank you, candidates. You've been a wonderful, clear, and respectful group. You respect each other and yourselves, and I really appreciate working with you. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Lubezi for some final words.
Thank you, Jen. We want to thank our candidates once again for appearing tonight. You know, neither public service nor running for office is easy. So will you please join me in a round of applause for these candidates. Thanks also to our volunteers for helping us produce this forum. We could not have done this without them. And mostly thank you for coming tonight. We have so many citizens of our communities with us here this evening, office holders, candidates, members of the board, Superintendent Selico. And we appreciate all your attendance. If you're a resident of Walton Hills, you may wish to attend the Walton Hills